and 8.
Hello, everyone.
I am interested why this is not working. There we go. Hey, Carter.
Hello.
Good to see you. Hi, Frank. So, Serafina, hello. So this is a book club about the book Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia. And I am trying to, why can I not do this? I cannot.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to put the link for the book in here, and apparently I can't. Yes, but I can't comment on my own live. How weird is that?
I did just put the link in YouTube.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Gracie. Hi, Daisy Girl. Hi, Andrew, Pamela, Debbie, B. Grant, Amy, Polly, Jen, Jean. Oh, lots of people. Thanks everybody for joining. Kathy. Again, this is a book club for the book Outlive, and we're going to be going over chapter 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm. I'll see if I can put it on TikTok.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, Charisse, Felicia, Monica. I like everybody's coming up so fast. Before we get started on chapter 7 and 8.
The link is there.
The link is there. Awesome. Okay, so Renee just put the Amazon link for the book. If you aren't familiar with it, you can take a look at it there and get some more information. And if you are so inclined, I guess also purchase it. I am going to do a quick recap if I can get this stupid thing to work. Because it's been a couple of weeks since we did a book club, I wanted to kind of go over the previous chapters. There's a lot of information in all of these, but I'm just going to go over what information is in each chapter. So, oh, and if we can. So, I've been drinking cold stuff all morning, so I have a little frog in the back of my throat.
And I went to medical 2 days ago. I have sinusitis, which is why Al is in a medical outfit. They dressed him while he was down there. I'm not contagious, but I do sound weird.
Yes. So we're gonna give you grace for that one. So chapter 1, the long game, from fast death to slow death. What this one covers is how we've over time have gotten medicine 2.0. It has gotten very good at keeping people from a fast death, and has made almost no progress on slow death issues. No longer afraid of water, drink it. Yes. I have that too. I need my protein shake though, because that's my breakfast this morning. Chapter 2 introduces the concept of medicine 3.0, rethinking medicine for the age of chronic disease. 3.0 is where Dr. Peter Attia thinks we should be operating from. We're currently in 2.0, where we react to things and we wait and let things get bad before we actually start treating them. And so the idea with 3.0 is not only to be preventative and proactive, but as soon as there's signs of something, don't wait and let it get worse. Do something, whatever it is we can now. Chapter 3, objective strategy and tactics. So this is the last chapter in part 1 of the book, where this is basically the roadmap for how to read the book. You have to understand what the objective is, so the end result that we're looking for, the strategy. So overall, looking at everything that you can do to get there, maybe what order they need to be done in, what types of things need to happen, and then the tactics are the specific how-tos. Thank you, no longer afraid. I love you too.
Thank you.
So that's the end of part 1. Part 2, chapter 4. Centenarians. The older you get, the healthier you have been, right? So no matter what, there is a degeneration as we get older. That's life.
You can't stop it.
And that's
you can slow it down.
Slow it down, but not actually stop it. And then on chapters 5 and 6, which we covered in our last one, I was kind of remarking about how there are 2 entire chapters about our metabolic system, about metabolic health, about our metabolism. And part of the reason, I just kind of remarked on it before, and I have read this, I have read the entire book before, but it's been a while. And so I'm rereading it again to share with you guys. And it's going through chapter 7 and 8, it has reminded me why metabolism is so important. Hi, Pastor Dean. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Robina, Peggy, Sherry. Hi, Ware. I'm so glad to see you all. So we'll get into the deep dive in 7 and 8 in a minute. But chapter 5, Eat Less, Live Longer, the science of hunger and health. There aren't really any conclusions on calorie restriction or fasting. There's kind of information that says good and bad in different ways, and for different things. So it kind of, it just kind of provides information on it and what we know about it now. And then in chapter 6, the crisis of abundance, can our ancient genes cope with our modern diet? So it goes into a lot of detail about the modern diet and specifically about how different hormones affect our metabolism. And of course, the one that everybody's talking about lately, sorry, Pastor Dean, this is the book Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia.
And I put a link in the description, or in the comments.
In the comments. He might not be able to scroll back to see those, so we might
I'll do it again.
We'll add the link again at various points in this book. But one of the comments that was made in chapter 6 that I really wanted to highlight before we get into chapter 7 and 8 today is that everybody's paying attention to insulin right now, specifically because of Ozempic and Wegovy and those brands of drugs that help regulate the hormone insulin. And there's also, like, they don't work for everybody, but they work for a lot of people who have had trouble for a really long time. And there's a lot of great things about them, but there's also a lot of side effects that are not fabulous. And one of those is loss of muscle mass. So that's a pretty big trade-off to make. But one of the points they made in chapter 6 is that if there were any other endocrine disorder that we had that had any other hormone other than insulin was this far out of whack, as it is for so many people, insurance would absolutely cover it as far as getting treatment for that. And the fact that insulin treatment is not standard practice until you develop full-blown diabetes is something that the author thinks is very strange, and I think is very like, I'm in 100% agreement with that. Why did they not do that? And so when we get into what were the subjects of chapter 7 and 8, so chapter 7 is about heart disease and confronting and preventing it. And chapter 8 is about cancer. Sorry, I already turned this off, so I don't remember the full
And heart
chapter.
disease is the leading cause of death.
Yes.
And why should it be? Why can't it be an orphan disease?
Right. So could you want to explain what an orphan disease is?
That it's no longer a disease.
Right. So
you never hear about it anymore.
That so few people get it. It's like 3 in the last 10 years people have been diagnosed with something like that. So chapter 8's title is The Runaway Cell, New Ways to Address the Killer That Is Cancer. And there's a lot of really good information in this. And obviously we're going to talk about some specifics of these. If you guys have questions, please ask. I will kind of warn you that because we've had such a busy time leading up to this, and it's been a couple of weeks since we have had a book club, I'm feeling a little unprepared.
And I'm feeling sick.
And you're feeling sick. So we may cover both of these chapters in 2. Again, because there's a lot of information and I want to make sure we cover most everything we can. So since I've been babbling, feel free. Hi, Kira. Good to see you again. Feel free to ask questions, like I said. Well,
I guess a question for everybody is, how do you prioritize your heart health in your daily life, since chapter 7 is about the heart,
right,
and it's the leading cause of death? What do you do to exercise your heart?
Yeah.
No.
You don't exercise your heart?
I don't run. I don't do cardio. And
shame on you.
Yes.
So
just shame me.
I did. I said shame on you. Okay, but you do walk.
Yeah, I do walk a lot, and I walk fast, and so that does exercise it.
Well, and I'm gonna argue that you don't even have to walk fast in order for it to be heart healthy exercise. I like to do challenges, and before I started this cruise, I was doing a 12-week lifting challenge, right? And I was looking at past challenges that had been done. Anybody who runs a gym has a YouTube channel. If they're doing challenges, they post their stuff on YouTube.
Keeps them accountable.
Right. And so I was watching this one, and the lady who had won the 12-week transformation thing for that year, she pointed out a couple things that I thought were really interesting. One is that she does these challenges all the time. So her before and after pictures were very different, but and so she admits that she was like really out of shape when she started, but this is also the third or fourth time she's done a challenge like this. So it was very clear, at least part of the reason why she had such an amazing transformation is because she had the underlying muscle mass. It was covered with fat because she'd been off the wagon for a while, but she did have the underlying muscle mass. The other thing that she talked about when she was talking about her exercise, so obviously because it's muscle building, lifting was a huge part of it, but she did in some cases 2 hours of cardio a day.
Jeez.
Because she wasn't doing heavy cardio. She was counting taking her dog for leisurely 2-hour walks as her cardio. So even though she walked for 3, 4, 5 miles a day, it took her 2 hours to get to that point because she was doing very low intensity, steady state cardio.
So on our excursions, we're walking 10 to 15,000 steps every day.
Yes. So
we're walking a lot.
Yeah, and which is the equivalent to, I mean, depending
7,
on
8, 9 miles.
Yeah, depending on how long your how long your stride is, right? So, if anybody has, apparently, I'm gonna go through the list and say hi to some folks. Tangi, Sally, Nancy, Lori, Ginger, Nicole, Sheila, Caveman Gaming. Good to see you all. And David and Pastor Dean and No Longer Afraid. I think No Longer Afraid had to drop out. It looks like he or she said she had to go. But
the chapter highlights the role in early detection and screening, identifying individuals at risk of heart disease before the symptoms manifest.
Right, which is, so there was a trick question he had when he was in medical residency. What's the first sign or the first clear sign of heart disease in a patient? Their death.
Oh, yeah.
Atherosclerosis, which I have a hard time saying. But so that was the trick medical school question, because it's not anything, because that's why they call it the silent killer. All sorts of stuff is happening with your circulatory system that we don't have an accurate or good way to check without opening you up or
and the author,
incredible imaging.
I'm sorry.
No.
And the author said he came to realize his mortality, that he's probably going to die of heart problems because his father died of heart problems at an early age.
And his uncles.
And he's like, oh, I got to check into this.
Yeah. So he started looking when he was in his 30s.
Yeah. And his calcium score was 6?
Yeah.
Have you had your calcium done?
I have, but I don't remember the number.
I have, and mine was 0. My husband's was 1 or 2.
Okay.
And of course the doctor's like, oh, don't worry about it. Well, that's just the start of problems.
So so yours, you said yours was 0, your husband's was 1, and how old were you when you had that done?
55.
Okay, so in their 50s. At 36, his was 6. So you see why that would be a time of concern. Yeah.
Well, and he said the leading cause of death daily in the U.S. is 2,300 people die of heart problems every day.
That's a big number for a daily. Yeah. So again, I'm going to recommend that you get the book to get all the details. Hello, everyone. Sue, Sarah, Jenny.
And then he talked about AP little a and
APOA. That one's a big one, but I know little a and APOB. I did have an ApoB test done, but I couldn't get them to do a second. This is another thing. So this book.
I thought it was lifetime, that test.
No, that's the one you have to look at over time, because it measures how much cholesterol is in your bloodstream.
Okay.
And the types of cholesterol, not just, and he goes into a lot of detail about how good cholesterol and bad cholesterol is very misleading and not an accurate way of looking at what's going on with cholesterol. And I actually wrote this down word for word, so I want to read this part with regard to cholesterol.
Then I want to read a part, because
okay,
after you're done, that
sure.
APO little a and B, I'm like, dumb this down for a 10-year-old, because I wasn't understanding it, so go first.
Okay, so the part I want to read out loud is dietary cholesterol, and particularly egg consumption, because we were talking about a study that said eggs were bad from like 5 decades ago, that people sometimes still believe. Dietary cholesterol, and particularly egg consumption, may not have much to do with heart disease at all. Eating lots of saturated fat can increase levels of atherosclerosis, causing lipoproteins in blood, but most of the actual cholesterol that we consume in our food ends up excreted out our backsides. And then the second part of that is the vast majority of cholesterol in our circulation is actually produced by our own cells. This is huge because people think, now again, cholesterol is different than saturated fat. So saturated fat is still not a thing that is wise to consume large amounts of. But cholesterol in general, at least the kind that we get through food, probably does not affect our overall cholesterol in our bodies. Now, we can at least help control cholesterol in our bodies with food. Studies have shown that eating oats, complex carbohydrates, can grab a hold of that cholesterol and get it to flush out the system. So it's not as if our diet doesn't have any effect on cholesterol in the body. The point is that we're not increasing it when we eat cholesterol.
Yep.
So
AP little a and AP, is it APOB or little b?
APOB.
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 ApoB. Okay.
That's the way he says it in the thing. Yeah.
What those are is, think about your body as a team of workers or lipoproteins that carry around packages, cholesterol and fats, to different parts of your body. little a and APOB are like the supervisors of these workers, making sure they deliver packages to the right places. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. little a is like a good supervisor telling workers to take the packages of cholesterol from places. I'm here. That is not needed, like your arteries, and bring it back to the headquarters, the liver, where it can be processed and removed from your body. So the little a helps your arteries be clean and healthy.
Okay. Taz Bunny said they have a loop recorder in their heart.
What is that?
I'm not sure what that is. Can you explain that? If it's too complicated to do in the comments, I get it. But like, if you can explain that would be really interesting to know. Okay. Hi, Emma.
Okay, and so APOB is a bit different. It tells workers to take the packages, which is your cholesterol, to places where it's needed, like your cells, where it can be used for important jobs. But sometimes there's too much cholesterol, or the workers get confused, and they might drop off the packages in the wrong places, like your artery walls. They can cause problems and make it hard for the blood to flow smoothly. So it's like UPS or Amazon delivering packages.
Right. That's a good analogy. And then, of course, when they get delivered to the wrong place, i.e. the arteries, they oxidize. So the body oxidizes them in a way to try and protect itself from them being left there, but that's what causes the blockages and provides and causes issues over time.
And then a question for everyone is, have you or someone you know been affected by heart disease, and how has it impacted your perspective on your health or their health?
I don't know. I mean, given the numbers with how prevalent heart disease is, I mean, well, the other part is you don't know, right? You don't necessarily know what everybody is going through. It monitors the beats of my heart. When I feel it going too fast, I have a device where it, oh, interesting. Okay.
So, you must be able to feel that your heart's...
Yeah.
Okay. Or does it do it automatically?
It says when they feel it going too fast. That's really, I didn't even know that was a thing. That's incredible.
Science.
Right. What they can do. So what I wrote down for chapter 7, that thing that I just read about dietary cholesterol, that was like my huge thing about chapters. That's like all the notes I have, because I just kind of figured that was so big. So we're going to be going off Renee's notes for the rest of the day, and for the rest of chapter 7 discussion.
What I got out of chapter 7 was understanding heart disease and what it means and what you should do. Go ahead.
No. The tests that you need to have run. So again, not a lot of them are standard. And again, all of these we're not doctors. He's not your doctor. but these are all things to use to start discussions with your doctor about what tests you'd like to have run. And based on, he does give some examples of what scores he thinks should be not so much normal or optimal. So they talk about that in some of the prior chapters too. Normal is not optimal. Right. So he gives you an idea of where, you know, from a health standpoint, where you should be for optimal. And again, to start a conversation with your doctor. So when they're saying, hey, let's wait for 10 years and check you again, if something's already showing an indication that it's heading in the wrong direction, do something to change it now. And whether that means, you know, lifestyle changes or medications.
So you say it's way off and I'm taken straight to the hospital. Wow.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Oh, if it's way off. Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. That's scary, Taz Bunny. I guess I'm glad you have that, though, to at least tell you when stuff is going on. Go ahead.
But it's also important to understand the risk factors. You know, obviously, don't smoke. Check your cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, sedentary life. You want to exercise regularly. Stress management. That's my probably biggest downfall is managing my stress.
I think, well, and as a, you know, again, if you're watching from the United States, you know, hustle culture, not sleeping, being busy all the time is almost like a status symbol in our country. And it has so many negative effects to the health across the board, not just with heart disease, but with many others. Normalize being relaxed and not being crazy busy all the time, right?
Let's see. Role of diet and nutrition. Obviously, eat your fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, healthy fats can help lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve overall heart health. He did talk about the Mediterranean diet.
Yes, he did. That's true.
And then he puts his
avocado,
fish, and
olive oil.
So he said that can help extend your lifespan.
Yeah.
We already talked about exercising, regular checkups. He talked about that, and we've talked about that as well. Go to your doctor, look at your numbers.
Yeah. Make sure you're reviewing your numbers with your doctor. And if you have concerns about any of them, you know, bring it up. Don't be, I mean, again, so many people are used to only going to the doctor when there's a problem, you know, and you get your 10 minutes to say, okay, here's what the issue is. Your doctor asks you some questions, maybe prescribes something, maybe tells you, you know, gives you some wisdom about what you should be doing, and then you're done. That's not the way it should work. It really should be a conversation. It really should be proactive. More than, and you know, I want to come in for my physical. I want to go over my numbers. I want to talk about, you know, what needs to happen there.
He also talked about community support and education, making sure we're raising awareness for heart disease.
Yes.
And not just breast cancer, because heart disease is the number one, and then cancer is the number two.
Yeah.
Which he talks about.
Cancer in general is number two, right? Yeah. So, but specifically, I mean, not that breast cancer isn't important, but there are, and so this is where we get into, again, in the later chapters, there's some synergies going on here. So lifestyle choices and things that you can do to address one area of your health, like heart disease, is actually going to spill over and be very healthful. For other aspects of your health too.
So what challenges, if I can ask everybody, have you done to maintain your healthy lifestyle, and how do you overcome those challenges to maintain a healthy lifestyle?
Or do we?
Yeah.
Now raise your hand. Who maintains a healthy lifestyle? No? Okay. All right.
That's all I got for 7.
Okay. All right. We can move on to 8. I'm good with that. I got way more notes on 8. Okay. Like I said. Okay. So again, he starts every chapter with a personal story, right?
Yes.
So the personal story, let's go back to chapter 7 for a second, was his own family genetic risk for heart disease. So the story for chapter 8, which is about cancer, this wasn't a family story, but it was
the gallbladder.
Right. So, do you want to tell that one?
No, go ahead.
No. It's a story of spontaneous recovery from cancer, and these are these are documented medical
Cases.
proven things that have happened, and not just once. I mean, not that it happens a lot, but it does in fact happen, where basically the immune system
repairs itself.
It repairs the cancerous cells or kicks them out.
Lady went in for gallbladder surgery and said, "Hey, I had previous."
I think it was a dude, but yeah.
Previous cancer of stomach, and it had metastasized. And he went in there and he's like poking around.
It's gone.
Gone. Nothing there.
Yeah, and when they'd had the first ones, it was, or when they were first diagnosed. When they were diagnosed, they basically sent this person home to die. They're like, we're gonna like deal with the thing that's going on with the gallbladder, but the thing with your stomach, we can't do anything about it.
Go home.
Go home.
And the liver, he looked at the liver, everything was gone. And I think he thought the patient was lying to him.
Yeah, he did. They had to look up his medical records because the doctor at the time did not think he was telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is wild, you know.
Yeah.
But it is a testament to the mind and the body connection and what the body is actually capable of. And the immune system, assuming that it's functioning, right?
Yeah.
So that was an awesome story. And then he kind of goes into how we haven't really made any progress in the treatment of cancer, despite the fact that billions of dollars have been dumped into it.
In years.
Over the last 10, 20, 30 years. Well, actually even longer. I'm going to go 50 at least.
Yeah.
So, but part of the reason why is, since genetic testing and, what's the word I'm looking for, where they actually like map the genome or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Once that became possible, they started doing that with cancers. And the reality is that the genetic makeup of even the same types of cancers is so different that
no two people have the same cancer.
Yes. At all. The same, it's not the same causes, it's not the same genetic makeup. Mm-hmm. So devising a strategic strategy that covers lots of people, right, or they're not allowed to say cure because you're only in remission, right? At least the way we're dealing with cancer now. But the totally lost my train of thought.
We were talking about cancer,
right?
And
so the progress, why we haven't made progress. So they're also different. It's not possible to pick a treatment that's going to work for everyone. They have done some studies with that are specific to like 10 to 20% of skin cancers, and I think there was one other, I want to say colorectal cancer, but I'm not sure if that was correct or not. Again, pick up the book on your own. But but overall, with the studies in cancer, there isn't any clear way to help everybody with, a certain kind of treatment. So,
well, what I found astounding was there's 1.7 million new cases of cancer each year, and the median age to get diagnosed is 66 years old. So we're coming up on that age.
Right. And again, because cancer is one of those things that the older you get, the more the higher your risk factor of getting some kind of cancer, and more each type of cancer that you could get, your risk goes up for all of those the older you get, which kind of goes to the whole the older you are, the healthier you were in the past.
The good news that he talked about was childhood leukemia.
Yes.
And the survival rates are better. So I had a friend back home who has a child who is 10, had childhood leukemia, had all of a sudden just turned black and blue everywhere.
Oh, wow.
He ended up in the hospital 11 months. And I saw him. I spent 2 weeks with him on and off. And let's see, that was 7 years ago. And he's doing great, but one thing with all the chemicals they dumped into him, they don't know if he's ever going to be able to have kids. They know they kept him alive, but that's the risk they take, keep you alive, and you may or may not have kids.
Right. And of course, as far as I would be concerned, it's not just curing cancer, it's curing cancer without having to come within a hair's breadth of killing the patient at the same time. Because what we're doing, I get that they're
dumping Drano into people.
Exactly. And that's what we have in our arsenal right now. So that's what they use. But it's just really, if you've ever had somebody close to you go through that,
It's rough.
It's really, really rough, and it's like a lot of people decide it's not worth it. I do know a couple of people who have been like, well, more than a couple of people who have been, like, I've done this once, I'm not doing it again.
Yep.
So, because it's not worth it to them.
What is everyone's thoughts on the cancer treatment and prevention, and how it affected your life?
So I'm going to bring this back to the metabolic discussion we had just a little while ago. And because we're at the halfway point, I do want to mention we are going to probably cut this off early because we have a Royal Caribbean meeting that we have to attend at 9 a.m. So we need to get down there, and I am going to be recording that one and posting it later. Okay, back to the cancer discussion. So probably about half of this chapter is about how important the metabolic system is with controlling cancer, with what we know about it right now. So specifically the metabolism of cells and cancer cells in particular. So what we do know, even though genetically they're very different, almost all cancer cells love glucose.
They love sugar, huge appetite.
Yes, but the way they process sugar is different than how normal cells process sugar. So when a normal cell is processing sugar, the whole point of the process it goes through is to extract energy from whatever they're doing with the glucose. Cancer cells only produce a little bit of energy from the glucose, and the rest of what they produce is building blocks for new cells, which is why huge amounts of sugar intake are associated with fast-growing cancers.
I just liken them as Pac-Man gobbling up.
Yes, very much so. That's how I kind of pictured it too. I mean, so which kind of makes you think. And to be clear, he is not advocating a specific diet, and neither are we, because that's not the function of a book club. But there are studies that show ketogenic diets, which are low in carbohydrates and sugars, and fasting combined with the medications for cancer that are part of the regular treatment program can increase the efficacy of the treatment overall. Like, and even in some cases where the treatment was showing where they had a really good reason to think it should be helping, but for some reason it wasn't, when they started doing calorie and sugar restriction, it became very successful.
Didn't he have a specific case where this lady stopped everything like that?
Right. So there was one particular woman who was part of a drug trial. After a certain amount of time, it was clear the drug wasn't working for anyone else but this one woman, and she was the only part of the trial who on her own, not because her doctor told her to, but went on basically a ketogenic diet.
And she's the only one that survived.
And they ended up having to stop the trial because of that, because it was clear the drug wasn't working. But they let her stay on the drug because for some reason it was working for her, and they wanted to study for a little bit longer why and how. So that's what happened there. And that's amazing, right? So again, not everything works for everyone. Sorry, ladies, it's 1:30 a.m. my time. This is very interesting. Don't worry, Taz Bunny. It'll be up on, I will post it on YouTube first, and maybe within a couple days on TikTok if you want to join back in. Hi, Sue, and hi, Dan.
So with all the cancer research going on, it helps better understand the mechanism of cancer and identify new therapeutics.
Yes.
And collaboration with and the internet's great, and they can collaborate. Oh, they did this in England versus they did this in Australia. And are we doing the same thing and duplicating efforts? And what can we do to combine our efforts?
Right.
Let's see.
From the metabolic side, insulin plays an outsized role in cancer. Again, because of the way cancer cells metabolize sugar, and insulin has such a huge role in that. And again, so in terms of prevention or treatment, if you've got lung cancer and you're still smoking, you really need to quit.
Yep.
And so the same thing, if you've got cancer and you have some kind of metabolic syndrome where your body is not producing insulin in a normal or healthy way, or you have other things going on with your metabolic system, you need to get that fixed. at the same time as you're treating the other stuff. And I'm going to go back to this again. You don't get treatment for metabolic disorder until you have full-blown diabetes, and they should be looking at that.
Early detection is key.
Right, right. And it kind of, to me, keeping from getting cancer or from allowing your body to heal itself would, you know, if everybody were more metabolically healthy, it seems like the cancer rates should drop.
Yep.
I mean, we don't know that, but I'd like to see a study on that.
So I have a story. I have a relative whose wife happened to go into the bathroom after her husband went to the bathroom and said, "Hey, your urine smells." And she actually could smell that he was in stage 1 Parkinson's. He went and got it checked.
Oh, wow.
Or not Parkinson's. What's the liver? It's not Parkinson's. Pancreatic cancer.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
The doctor said they have never detected stage 1 pancreatic cancer in their hospital ever. And they were floored that she could smell that, hey, there's a problem.
Right.
So they got to it early.
And that's just crazy. I mean, they actually, like, some dogs are trained for, like, I remember a story not too long ago. I can't remember where I read it, and who knows if it's actually even a true story, but it was just interesting. The two ladies sitting next to each other on an airplane, and one lady has she has a heart condition, and she has a medical
pacemaker?
No. She has a dog.
Oh, okay.
So like
medical
I'm
dog.
sure, like
Yep.
right. And so whenever she's having issues with her heart, the dog alerts on her, and she knows she needs to like do something about it. And the dog was alerting on her neighbor on the plane, and so she was
saved
like,
her life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not to be creepy or anything, but you need to go see your doctor and have your heart checked because I clearly think something's going on because my dog keeps alerting on you, and that's what he's trying to do. It's just crazy how they can sense or smell or whatever it is, whatever mechanism it is. But, yeah, that's crazy. One of the things I'm going to say about chapter 8 is there are a lot of additional book references. So he makes the comment several times about how his book is too long already, and he doesn't have time to or space within the book to talk in details about this. But he mentions
the book, The Transformed Cell.
Yes, The Transformed Cell. And there were like 2 other ones in here that he highly recommended. One of them was a Pulitzer Prize winner.
Yeah.
I think, was that The Transformed Cell? It might have been, yeah.
Yeah.
So lots of other additional reading if you're interested in these particular topics. What else you got?
Let's see. What role do you believe technology and innovation will play in the fight against cancer in the coming years? Especially with artificial intelligence, you'd think it would help come up with an answer. If you put in all the variables and...
Yeah, I think it would. I think, yeah. AI is going to have a lot of positive impacts on the medical industry, I think, just as a general rule. I mean, because it's not biased, you know?
Right.
And I think, I know as a woman, when I go to the doctor about certain things, I get discounted for whatever reason. AI is probably not going to do that to me. I know a lot of people who feel like they have had a similar experience from a racial perspective, where their concerns are not treated seriously
or valid,
or that they're valid, or they get pawned off as not important, or we'll deal with it later, or again, from in the United States, if you don't have insurance, you know, there's a limit to. Well, actually, I did experience this when I was living in the UAE. I had insurance, but I had to pay for everything up front, and that severely limited what my doctor was willing to do for me, and basically said you need to go back to the United States, which was not really an option right away. So it was basically just suffer with whatever you got going on for the next 2 or 3 months until you can fly back.
They didn't think you could pay the bill, or they didn't want to wait for reimbursement?
Well, no, it would have been reimbursing me. They didn't think I could pay the bill. But again, no one asked me that question. No one told me what they wanted to do. They were just very standoffish about it.
Okay.
And again, so this also has to do with because it was a female issue, and some countries are really great at medical tourism and medicine in general, but when it specifically comes to women's health, not so much. And
Yeah. Okay.
that's kind of what I ran into. But I did get it addressed eventually, but I did have to go to the United States. and to the point where it was like
crazy.
Again, it started as a little problem and it just grew and grew and grew, which was not fun for anybody. Anyway, that's kind of all I got.
All I got. We did.
Again, because I really need to listen to these. There's so much information in some of these chapters that it's really hard to digest it all. And even if I spend 2 days reading the chapters and going over them, I don't really feel like I've processed everything. And I don't think that my notes are that great. So
he throws so much at you.
Yeah. So I think for next week, I think we're going to cover chapter 7 and 8 again. And also because I had to change the time for this at the last minute because some idiot company keeps signing us up for meetings without telling us in advance of when they're going to be on our C days when we have stuff planned.
It keeps us busy. Too busy.
Too busy. Okay. Unless you've got, since we don't have any questions coming through, I'm going to assume that you guys are just enjoying listening. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here, if that's okay.
Right.
And then we will see you guys next week. We have, let's see, we're here. We've got 1, 2, Tuesday. I don't know where we're at. Oh, and Al. Renee, do you want to go ahead and give your,
Yeah. So, Al and Renee TikTok is SHULLRENEE, or YouTube is Renee Shaw. It's first name, last name, or last name, first name, depending on where you are. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I'm Frugal Vagabond on both TikTok and YouTube. You can find the replays of these on YouTube within usually a half an hour of when we finish.
Depends on
internet. On the internet speed, right?
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining. It's been fun, and we are for the next book club we are going to cover chapter 7 and 8 again, because there's just so much information in there, and I need to make way better notes for the next book club.
And I'll be healthier. Bye, everybody.
See you. Bye.